In this video I would like to discuss Karh and the different options for the Karh teams. Let's start with the discussion of the skills that Karh has. So the first skill is Nexus of Horror. Karh throws into the air 3 enemies with the lowest health. When the affected enemies fall back down, they get stunned for 2 seconds. So this is basically a control skill. Karh may use Mara as a patron, and with maxed out Mara, this skill, the duration of the stun can be increased up to 6 seconds. This skill works in combination with Deadly Tendrils. While Karh is alive, he strikes every enemy who was thrown into the air. If the enemy level is equal or less than 130, Karh deals double damage. So, first Karh attacks 3 enemies with the lowest health, and then he deals double damage if he can throw him into the air. What's important here is that Karh attacks 3 enemies with the lowest health. It's important when you attack your opponent, and it's also important when you attack the Karh team. For example, those 3, if you attack Karh team, you might choose those 3 heroes in the way that Karh cannot kill them right away. For example, you may use dodge heroes in there, or you might put some fat heroes in there which can withstand damage from Karh. Another important thing to understand is that the stun which Karh makes with his first skill is removed by Sebastian, and Sebastian is a super popular hero in defense. So control effects, you should not put too much hope on this stun because many opponents will have Sebastian in defense. The next skill is Negator of Laws. Karh opens a shield that can block enemy physical attacks for 8 seconds. The hero gets extra energy for each attack blocked. So this is a very useful skill against physical fighters, for example Karh. It allows Karh to charge fast without taking any damage when his shield is active. Another important factor is that Satori deals extra damage for the bonus energy. However, Satori deals only magic damage. So if he attacks the shield of Karh, Karh will not get the bonus energy. However, if Satori is paired with some physical hero, for example Andvari, and Andvari attacks Karh when his shield is up, Karh will get bonus energy, and for the bonus energy that he gains, Satori will be able to deploy additional fire marks, and once he ultimates, Satori will make additional damage to Karh, which can be a killing damage. The last skill, Survival Factor, attacks against enemies thrown into the air heal the hero for a fraction of the damage dealt. So this skill basically gives vampirism to Karh, which allows to use him even in defense without healer sometimes. You can see combinations where support hero only add damage to Karh, given that he is able to restore some health once he kill opponents. Another important thing is that Yasmin, who is another top damager, she cannot block vampirism, which makes it a little bit easier for Karh to survive against her. Now let's switch to options for the Karh teams. So the default Karh team used to look like this up until Sebastian was released in the game. So here Nebula gives additional physical attack to Karh. Faceless, he adds control with his throw of power, and also when he throws the tank back, if Karh attacks at the same time, he might be able to deal additional damage to the tank. So this is there were also other options widely used, like for example, some people played like this. So this is team based on control. As I mentioned before, Karh can restore his health during attack, so you can play with control. Jürgen will steal energy from your opponent. Then Faceless will throw a tank and stun the team, and Karh also stuns his opponent during attack. So it's this team can block opponent from doing anything, and then Karh kills everyone. So after release of Sebastian, usage of this combination became more difficult because Sebastian removes all the negative effects from Jürgen, Faceless, and stun from the Karh. And because of that, first of all, many players started to use Sebastian along with Karh for the same reasons. He removes all the control effects, which is super useful for Karh, and he also capable to boost damage from Karh with a critical hit chance that he gives to his team. Some people use both Nebula and Sebastian for the maximum damage. You can see combination which look like this and like this. Now next, Astaroth, the role of the Astaroth here, and in general the role of the tank with Karh. Astaroth was widely used because of his resurrection ability. So even if Karh was killed, once Astaroth resurrects him, Karh has full energy, he attacks, he can restore remaining health, and it may change the course of the fights. Nowadays, Astaroth is less effective because of Morrigan, which blocks resurrection. So for this reason, you might consider different tank options. Astaroth remains widely used though. Now, talking about the Karh teams, we should think of counter heroes for Karh, and dodge heroes. They will give a lot of problems to any Karh owner. So these are Yasmin, Aurora, Dante, where he is. and even Kinmao. So these heroes, Heidi, these heroes can dodge attack. It will give a bonus energy to them. They will fight back. So all of them can be a problem for Karh. So among these, I would say that Aurora and Yasmin are the most widely used, at least on our server. They are. So for Yasmin, as a there are a few ways to counter her. Helios is a hard counter, so if you're a Karh owner, you might consider to grow this hero in addition to your standard team. So if you have Yasmin against you, you might use something like this. Um, okay, so Helios doesn't have magic defense penetration of his own, so you either need a strong Merlin on him, or you may use Faceless, which gives magic defense penetration with his first artifact. Another option, so as you can see in this case, you don't have healer in your team, right? So you might consider different options instead of Helios to have a more balanced team. For example, you may use Celeste. Um, you may use Celeste because she deals magic damage and Yasmin cannot dodge it when she jumps into the middle of your team. If you're lucky and Celeste in the dark form, she might be able to one-shot Yasmin. She also helps with blocking of healing of opponent. In general, she's a very good support, another good support for Karh. You can see many teams which look like this on Arena. Another approach which becomes super popular is usage of Aurora as a tank. So Aurora plays well with Celeste, given that Celeste gives magic attack bonus to her. She allows you to she gives dodge to your whole team, which allows to avoid part of the damage from Yasmin, and she deals magic damage of her own, which is also good against Yasmin's. So this team is able to withstand attacks of Yasmin in most of the cases, even without Helios. Another counter hero for Karh is Andvari. Andvari blocks throw up effects for his nearest ally, and this way he cuts half of the damage dealt by Karh if Karh attacks him or the second position. So as a Karh owner, you should also think of how to deal with this guy, because you'll be attacked with Andvari quite often if your server is developed enough. So, speaking of Andvari, the weakness of Andvari is that he has a really low magic defense. He's vulnerable to Celeste. So the previous combination with Aurora and Celeste works pretty well against him. So in defense, this combination works pretty well against Andvari, Yasmin, and yeah, it will work well against Dante as well. And the problem in here with Aurora is that the dodge is a random chance. So in certain cases, you may just not be able to dodge, and it brings randomness into each fight. Another problem with Aurora is that she starts to shine when she's strong. It means that you need to invest a lot into her, and it's quite an expensive tank, I would say. However, it gives you an option for transition between magic and physical teams. Quite often you can see that people have, well, people who has a few strong teams on Grand Arena, they have both Astaroth and Aurora, which they can switch. Aurora plays very well with Megs, and you can see that people have one magic team on Grand Arena and another is a Karh team. So for Aurora you have multiple options for development. For example, if you have Aurora and Helios, you might think of Orion team as your second team, or you can think of Twins team. This is also one of the very strong teams that you may encounter on Arena. You can see that Sebastian, Celeste, and Aurora, you can reuse them between Karh team and Twins team. Another important support for Karh, support which can be very useful, is Kai. So Kai gives magic attack, and she throws, unlike Faceless, she throws the whole team of opponents up into the air. It's a very good hero. After rework, she also has she or he has vampirism, and yes, even if opponent has Andvari, Kai will be able to throw the whole backline up into the air, which is good for Karh. So you still need Sebastian here against control effects, and yeah, you may cover the back with Martha to not have Sebastian on the last position where he's vulnerable. Or you may use something like this to give even more magic damage for your team. Yes, another thing I should mention is that Axel Um, Axel is a counter pet against Karh. He distributes damage, and as we know, Karh attacks 3 heroes with lowest health. If Axel's sheet is active during the attack, it allows um to mitigate this damage, to spray it, for example, to the tank and to the last position where Martha usually is. So tank and Martha has a lot of health. Axel distributes damage, and Karh cannot kill those 3 heroes with lowest health. So what helps against Axel is a splash damage, and splash damage means that you need some supports which will reduce health of opponents in advance, so when Karh attacks, um, it's easier for him to kill them even when the shield is up. And here Aurora helps as well, because she deals splash damage to the team of opponent. So in general, I would say that Aurora is the best tank for Karh nowadays. Okay, so the the team which we would look for Karh, an ideal Karh team, might look like this. With Kai or with Faceless, and with Celeste to boost magic damage of Aurora. So the last topic to cover is what to do if you have Aurora against you. She is also a dodge hero, so for Karh, Aurora is a problem. Aurora teams can be a problem. So a solution for fighting Aurora teams is control. We are talking about the Karh team specifically. So for control, you might need Isaac. He works very well against all the Aurora teams. You might need to combine him with Jurgen. Um, so Isaac will silence team of opponent, then Jurgen will forbid energy gaining, and during this time when dodge is the dodge of Aurora of opponent deactivated, Karh has time to kill. So you may think of something like this. This is attack only team, obviously. So to summarize, what kind of supports you might need for Karh. So for control, this is Isaac, Jurgen, Faceless, also Kai. Then in order to boost damage, you might need Nebula and Sebastian. Sebastian is also must-have against control teams. And for magic damage against Andvari and Yasmin, you might need Celeste, Kai, Helios, and Aurora is multi-purpose tank, which will play well with the Karh team as well. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Thanks for your attention.